Here we go. Now we're live. Now we're live.
Yes, we are, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You know, on my radio show every morning, we count down the days to the election.
14, right?
14.
14 days.
Yeah, 14 days. So I'll be glad when it's over.
I just want to get the political text messages to stop.
Oh, yeah.
I get at least 20 to 25 a day.
Oh, yeah, man. Do you ever feel like you want to screw around with a couple of them, though? Like, you know, you want to lie to them? And...
I mean, I've said, I'm not voting for this person. Like, oh, sorry, have a great day. I'm like, well, then stop texting me. Like, what the hell? I mean, it's ridiculous.
I answered one that I was voting for George Bush. And a guy even back goes, well, which one? And I go, I think only one's living now, right?
I mean, I'm sure they have AI running these platforms. You know, it's like, well, which one?
It's probably some kid who's 16, 18 years old, doesn't even really even know his history.
Could also be the truth.
I don't know.
So
I thought maybe we would talk about the subject here this week, and then because next week we're going to be right on top of it. Maybe next week we concentrate on the election.
Sure, that works. I like
it. I want to talk a little bit about lying today.
Okay.
Now we've touched on it in prior weeks.
Sure.
But we didn't touch on it in this way. So I think the last time we brought lying into the conversation, Rocco, we were trying to talk about why people lie on a big picture philosophical basis, going, you know, looking at historically why humans do this. I want to talk about, do people feel a license to lie now because they feel society is constantly lying to them on an increased basis? Thus, the response tends to be, the lying must not have any gravity because, I mean, if our governments and our leaders and the people that we trust in society are just lying in mass, if they believe this, I'm not saying it's happening.
Okay.
There's a belief out there for a lot of people that we're just not getting the straight story on so much. You know?
Yeah, I hope it's not the belief that lying is just what we do now. I hope it's not. I think some people lie because, one, they don't remember the truth. They've said things so many times they don't really know what the truth is anymore. It's hard to discern between, you know, fact and fiction. I think
that's scary.
Well, it is. I think two, people lie to fit in. I think that's a big piece of it.
Feel they need to.
They feel they need to. They feel they need to, you know, fabricate a story, fabricate a background.
That's a whole podcast in of its own.
Well, it is, but when you look at the world, right? Social media makes everybody feel like you have to be a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, or think a certain way.
So reality's not good enough.
Right. Well, it's not even that. It's like that's created what people believe the new reality is. So they have to lie to pretend they're part of it. Like, oh, I have this great job, or oh, I have this great girlfriend, I have this great car at home, I got all this money in the bank, and they're just lying about things. They're lying about their background. To me, authenticity and honesty are a valuable asset today. And that sucks that I even say that out loud.
It used to be, that's old man talking. It feels to me like in decades prior that authenticity was just a foregone conclusion in most instances. I mean, reality was what you could see, hear, feel, taste, and smell. That was reality, right?
You would think so. Yes, correct. Like, but again, I think because of social media and technology, it's becoming harder to discern fact from fiction. Like, just look at how many things you go on platforms like TikTok or Instagram, you see ads from celebrities, knowing they're not really the celebrities, AI generated. So what is the real truth out there? And is there any truth anymore?
So how much of the public now believes that the truth is not consequential for society to operate because things just keep moving forward, but it's done with the distrust of the people participating? You see what I mean? Like the public is distrusting of their own reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a heavy thing to say, but that's kind of what I feel where we are right now.
No, I would agree. I think that, you know, the way people look at the world, I think it gives them the inclination to lie, because they see very little authentic people and honest people in the world. So again, they think that the lying has become the norm, as opposed to truth telling being the norm. That's scary. I mean, look at politicians, look at news. There's no journalism anymore. It's sensationalism, or it's opinion pieces, which, okay, like how do you know, or where do you go to get absolute truth anymore?
Yeah. And that's where I wanted to go with this. It's almost like you don't have places that you can really trust. I mean, there's an ironclad definitive answer to this. That's why I think science, the field of science and all the different, branches off of that used to be relatively viewed as being finite in society.
Okay.
Right. But isn't it interesting how the part of science that has become so popular in the past 10, 15 years, 20 years, has been the theoretical physicists? Because they're all educated guesses about the beginning of time, how old the world is. Think about this. Theoretical physicists are now celebrities. They're celebrity theory. Why are we so obsessed with them? Because they're not dealing in absolute finite truth. They're taking bits of things and creating hypotheses. And that feeds into what we're all probably doing, and observing and believing.
But they're creating hypotheses about things that are out of this world, we'll say. They're not creating hypotheses about whether this table is wood or not.
Okay.
They're creating hypotheses about what is interesting.
Right.
When did the world start?
Right.
Are there different timelines?
Right.
Are we in different dimensions? So people, that creates curiosity.
Why now? Why so much now? That, like, case in point, 25 years ago, we knew who Stephen Hawking was, and we knew who Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was starting to rise, but now there's so much interest in the theoretical physicists, and I think it really has to do with the fact that they're not dealing in absolute proven facts, right? It's more of a
agreed. I think that's part of
the story. It's borderline factual fiction, a theory.
Well, that's part of it, but I also think that today, compared to 25 years ago, those theoretical physicists are more accessible.
Okay.
Like, think about that. 25 years ago, I didn't know who the hell these people were. Now you go on social media, podcasting, short form video, long form video, describing their theories, and it's interesting. They've always been interesting people in theories. They just have a larger platform to disseminate their information.
A megaphone now. Yeah.
And that's why I think it's become. Now, again, I think to your point, the absolute truth thing is that they are dealing in ambiguity, right? So that does create the curiosity, but I also think that there's just more access to them now. I didn't know who any of these people were before the internet. When you think about it,
yeah.
Do you know who Neil Tyson deGrasse was?
Yeah, I did. But I had a unique, specific interest in it.
Yeah, you were also nerdy back then.
I dive into that. I don't understand any of the math. When it gets to the math, I tune out. But the big picture,
like, who created math? Like, think about that. Like, who created math? Do we know it's true?
It's one of the Oh, see now. Listen. What you just said. There's nothing wrong with it. Questioning everything. Nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
But don't you feel that, let's say, in the before times, the pre-95 times, there were benchmark iconic truths or beliefs that generally 95% of the population believed, and we hung on to those so we could maneuver through the day.
Sure.
Those are all being torn down now. And we're walking around with uncertainty.
As we should sometimes. Sometimes to expand as a society or to grow as a society, you have to break down the norms of the day.
Yeah.
And challenge everything. Because if you didn't do that, how do we have the Industrial Revolution? The Industrial Revolution challenged everything we knew up to that point, right? You have all these ages throughout the years that they were typically challenging thought patterns and things from the age before. So
are we drunk on it now, though?
Oh, I don't think we're drunk on it. There's more access to it. Like you can't conflate being drunk on something or just having more access to it. Because look, so use an example for beer, right? If I have access to 6 cans of beer and I drink 3 of them, I drank 50% of the beer and I feel perfectly fine, right? If I have access to 300 cans of beer and drink 10 of them, I drank a very small percent of what's out there, but I'm hammered. You know what I mean? So you got to look at there's so much more information now. So it takes a little percentage of that to get us drunk on it. As opposed to the past, we had to take in all the information.
Fair enough.
But questioning it, like I always said that, like who came up with math? Like who said 2 + 2 = 4? And we're just like, yeah, makes sense.
And and that system has been built on to the fact that now we use that as the measuring stick for the universe.
Right.
It's nuts.
Every bridge we drive over is built by math, right?
Everything's math.
We're trusting the absolute certainty of it. We drive over a bridge, over a water body. That bridge was created by math, and that's us trusting. So that's where I believe when it comes to certain truths, some certain truths just have to be trusted.
Well, that's my point.
Mhm.
I think less and less of those people are willing to trust now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I think there got to come a point in time where people have to just, learn to trust more.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. If you want to go down a deep hole, there's a thing called fractals. You familiar with that?
I know the term, yes.
I am not a mathematician at all. I don't even know if I understand the big picture concept entirely, but I guess everything gets broken down into these bits and pieces, and it all somehow interconnects and interrelates.
Yeah.
There's a whole area of mathematics just for that. And there are some documentaries that are mind numbing.
I mean, math. I love math. I did very well in math, but like thinking back now, it's like, holy shit! Like, what was the purpose of it? I had trigonometry. Like, what have I ever used that for in my adult life?
Well, so mathematics is something that the average person, we still, I think, trust that and able to function, but everything from the fact that we are looking for news. And we've got like literally 2 sides of news. Yeah. The news should basically be reality.
The news should be the news.
Not opinion. Yeah, this is the facts. This car hit this truck. These 3 people are dead. These 7 are injured. They were taken to this hospital, and it happened at this time. Yes. That's a factual event. I think today that when we would see just those facts, a part of society would still question that actually either didn't happen or happened differently, or there's more people injured, or there's more people dead, or they're not at that particular hospital. There's a rejection of the proposed facts almost on a dime now with a good portion of the population. You don't feel that?
No, I do. Maybe not to the extent that you do. I'm an optimist by nature. And I like to think that, I don't know, it's a tough one. I gotta think through that one because I'm not sure what I believe or not.
Okay, so set that aside for a second. So let's talk about it. 2 weeks there's going to be an election. Now, don't you have a feeling inside right now that naturally it's pretty obvious that whoever wins, there's going to be half the country very upset and half the country very happy, more than normal. It's going to be. I think it's very, very polarized. Right now. The side that wins is going to declare victory immediately, and it's a truth and honest election. The other side, regardless of who it is going to declare funny business. And even if the other side gets wiped out, I honestly believe there will be elements of the losing side that will find a way to contest things and to go into an area of non-belief.
Yeah, I mean, shit. But think about the one side who's protecting all the elites. So to me, that's just a preservation of power and secrecy. Is why they're fighting so hard, and why
it appears to be to me as well.
Yeah, yes. I think why they will go to Earth's end to prevent a certain individual from getting in the office. I think that's a big problem. And again, I think this is where the media goes wrong. They get involved and they start telling narratives to people, which are, somewhat factually based, but not fully. It's with their own spin on it, and it creates this like on both sides. It creates these monsters in people's head. Like Trump's a monster, Kamala's a monster. It's like, are they both monsters, or is this just what we've been told they are?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this whole election thing is just. I know we're going to talk about this week, but this whole thing has just got me like questioning everything. Because I keep going back to the whole, again, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, don't care. Everybody has a right to vote. But the whole thing against Trump, he is a threat to democracy. That has been the speaking line of that party.
Yeah,
that has been toe the line, say this.
Insanity, yes.
But then you have a party who installs their own candidate without a fair election.
And that's not a threat to democracy.
Right. So she wasn't elected as a candidate. She was placed as a candidate, but that's not a threat to democracy. You're exactly like, what is that? And they're using a pretty big term, threat to democracy. That's like the boy crying wolf.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying he's a threat to democracy. Well, you just threatened democracy by what you did. And this is the problem. I don't know how I got on this topic, but this is the problem.
I think you're spot on. And it's like civility has flown away.
I mean, 100%. I mean, yeah. I mean, in politics, absolutely, civility's gone. When you think about it. I mean, I think just in life in general, it's on the decline. When you think about it,
is it because we're a good portion of society is walking around with heightened levels of uncertainty?
I think heightened levels of uncertainty and just heightened levels of distraction. Right.
I think just uncertainty can be fostered by constant distraction, right?
Yeah.
To a degree.
Fostered meaning in a good way or a bad way?
A bad way. Proliferated, I should say.
Yeah, I think so. Because if you have a $700,000 let me think of how to phrase this. I want to take a step back for a second, because coming back to truth, I think there's a piece, there's an element we're missing, right? Take everything aside of politics and whatever people agree upon, disagree upon, is I think the bigger question is, how do we define absolute truth anymore? So I think we're talking about a lot of stuff, and we're kind of on these different spots, but do you believe there's absolute truth anymore?
Well, there needs to be.
But needs to be and is are two different things.
It's not real prevalent in today's society, no.
Okay, and
because
why do you
the
think
foundation of our legal system,
okay,
the impression of that gets more and more deteriorated every single day.
Okay,
that's a problem.
Our legal system meaning what? So the system I'm part of, or just the system in general?
The scales of justice,
okay,
are supposed to be blind.
True.
Take 1,000 people, interview them all, and ask them how many people will actually believe that, or rate it like, how much of a percentage do you believe that it happens this amount of times or not? I would venture to say it would rather be an eyebrow raising answer.
Okay,
which that terrifies me.
Do you think justice was ever blind?
Well, I think you have it's predicated on human nature and human behavior. So you're always going to have corruption or evil, right? But sometimes the perception of all this evil holds just as much weight in society as if it's actually happening or not. Do you see what I mean?
Okay. So the perception of evil
is sometimes just as weighty as the actual evil happening or not. The evil doesn't actually have to happen often in society. Just the public's perception in a big way that it is happening.
Correct. I mean, that's how you can modify behavior, right? You create the perception of something,
and we're
as
falling
opposed
for
to-
it.
Yeah.
now.
Well, I mean, we fell for it since the pandemic.
Correct.
When you think about it, they created this
1,000,000%.
perception of something. We just all
1,000,000%.
followed along like idiots. Like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense. Yeah, I think.
Well, and that's because I believe that we're becoming softer and softer and softer as the years go on, based upon the technology providing an easier life for all of us with each and every year.
Well, and that brings me to a point where I think, and I was thinking about this over the past week. To truly be successful in anything, business, professional, personal life, you have to be truly willing to do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about, like, if you ask yourself, like, how many people do you know in your life are willing to do the really hard things? Not when someone's watching, when no one's watching. Like, answer that question. How many people do you know are willing to do that?
But isn't that the phrase of, that speaks to what really character is
Yeah.
what you do when no one's watching.
Correct. But it's doing the hard, not just doing the work, but doing the hard things. Because I look at my life, there's a handful of people that I believe, out of all the people I know, that are really willing to do the hard work. Because I believe everybody can do the work when someone's watching, right? If the spotlight's on you, you can bust your ass, run them out. You have gratification and validation, right?
Validation,
right there.
Affirmation.
It is when the lights are off, it's dark, it's cold, you're alone. Are you still doing the hard stuff? That's what truly separates people. And I think the people that are willing to do the hard things when no one's watching are the ones that have a different viewpoint on truth and falsity.
I would think so, for certainty. I mean, for
I
sure,
think really does.
Well,
Because
they're
I've talked to
principled.
those people. They're principled. That's the
And
thing.
it's
Because if you think about that, like, if you look at being willing to do hard things, boils down to discipline, not motivation, not inspiration, discipline. Do I like doing all this shit every day? No fucking way.
Right.
Am I disciplined enough to do it? Absolutely, because there's an intention behind it.
Absolutely.
So when people are disciplined, they're also principled. Are my principles right or wrong? It's not for me to determine.
Right.
I just know what I believe. That doesn't mean you have to believe it. I know my principles, my values, my morals. They are mine. They're what I believe, and they're how I operate. They may be completely in opposition to yours. That's okay. That's America. But again, I think we've gotten to this point where there's so much information out there. There's so many low principled people that they can be swayed very easily or persuaded very easily, right? It's hard to persuade me. If I have a position on something, like my truth, it's very hard to persuade me off of that.
100%. Would you argue that we're all principled in our own way, but it's those people who have conviction for their principles?
Okay. Define conviction for me, though.
They live them.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that is
for better or worse.
So the question was what?
Well, I think all of us have principles, and some are stronger than others. Some are undefined. Some are defined. But are you a principled person? Which means, do you embody those principles?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the difference. Having principles and being principled are two different things.
Yes.
Right. And I think you can have principles, right? But if you're not, to me, I'd rather be a principled person than have principles.
Correct.
Because if I have them, I have them when I need them, and I don't have to follow them all the time. If I'm a principled person, same thing being a disciplined person, right?
Yeah.
I can have discipline or be a disciplined person. Having discipline also means in moments of time, I won't have discipline. But if I'm a disciplined person, I'm always going to be disciplined when called for. And that's how I look at it. So, and I think people conflate the two. To me, I'd rather hire people that are disciplined people
100%
than people that have discipline.
100%.
Because it's either you have it or you are it. I want the people that are
100%.
And I think people miss that. That's an important distinction that people miss. And it's small choices of words.
No question.
But if you talk to someone and say, yeah, I have discipline, like, great. You have discipline.
Are you disciplined?
Are you disciplined? That's the thing.
I had a conversation about the concept of personal philosophy with a guy.
Okay.
That at the radio station a while back, and He said, well, explain that to me. And I told him, and you know, my concept of personal philosophy, and that I work on it and I nurture it, and it does change over time. There's an ebb and flow to it, but but not on the weighty stuff generally. It's usually the stuff on the lesser important stuff. You know, you come and you go and you feel and you massage it, but you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you're guiding your life because I have a conviction to my personal philosophy.
Yeah.
When you say that to some people, that terrifies them.
Yeah.
Because, I have opinions, or you have opinions, which you can call those your belief, but you're not, you know, if you just have opinions and you feel a certain way about things, it's fine. It's your business.
Yeah.
But do you actually have a personal philosophy? Have you taken those opinions and beliefs and have you melded them and concentrated on them and created a personal philosophy? That's what I'm talking about when I say the study of one's personal philosophy. Everybody's got opinions.
Yeah.
That's great. But how do those opinions coalesce to create the person that you are and the person that operates every day?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, I think opinions can inform your philosophy. Your philosophy informs who you are.
Correct.
Like, and that's where I think people say
Very
opinions.
succinct. Yes.
Like, great. Okay. But what do those opinions do? Do they help? Do they inform your philosophy? Like, what is your life's philosophy, your personal philosophy? Because your personal philosophy is who you are, right? Like, I look at myself, you know, I have my beliefs, I have my personal philosophy, and I operate in accordance with that. So it makes decision making for me very easy. Here's my philosophy. Here's what I believe I'm supposed to do. Here's where I'm going. Here's my convictions. Do these things I'm being asked to do align with that?
Yeah.
If yes, cool, I can do them. If no, I can say no very easily.
Yeah.
So it's almost a decision-making tool for me as well. It's hard to get to because it's a lot of thinking. You have some self-reflection to figure out what your personal philosophy is. And it may change over time and morph and transform, but opinions are not the same.
No, as a matter of fact, what by concentrating and thinking and writing about my own inner personal philosophy for so long, I'm now in this stage of my life where, and it might not be good, but I'm at this stage of my life where I don't give my initial gut reaction to things and my initial opinions of things. I don't give it any weight. It's got to stick and stay with me. It's got to obsess my brain for a while before I start to give it weight.
Yeah.
I can recognize if I have a fluttering emotion, if I have a whim, I can separate my whims from things of consequence. And I'm not entirely sure that's a skill that the broad-based public has. We are, to me, more and more whim-based as we maneuver through society. I don't know how we got there. I really don't know how we got there, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing whims turned into laws, whims turned into ideas that people want to force on others.
Yeah.
It's a really odd time we're living in right now.
Well, I think people got very reactionary in nature. So whim is a reaction, right? It's you're reacting to a stimuli or a situation. I think in the past, right, when there wasn't as much information coming at us, we had more time to think through things, think through decisions, analyze them. Now it's like I'd probably make if I look at a day, right, and look at the notifications I get, emails, phone calls, text messages, I probably make from the time I get to the office and leave at least 100 decisions a day. Not just what am I going to eat today, or you know, am I thirsty? Like decisions that impact
consequence.
Thing, they have consequences. At least 100, almost every single day. So I have to be reactionary. I have to sometimes do that. Now, I put a lot of thought into my personal philosophy, so that allows. So again, this comes back to the personal philosophy, right? If you put time into that, then these things don't become whims. Because you thought a lot behind us. You know, it may look like you're reacting so fast, but you've put so much thought into your philosophy.
That's exactly right. And that's what I'm trying to say. I feel through this work that I've done. On my own personal philosophy and molding it and melding it into what it is. It's like I really can differentiate between a passing whim and something that rocks me, something that really is starting to stick. Like, you know, it's an idea, you know, an opinion, whatever. But what I'm saying though is it seems like people are riding with their whims. not everyone, but a portion of society rides the wave of their whims. And you see it with like I think that plays a little bit into, some of the antidepressants and all the mental duress that we're walking around with right now, because we're giving unnecessary weight to what might be a passing whim, and we're not disseminating between the value of that belief at that moment, or having the patience to say, I'm feeling that now. Am I going to feel that tomorrow or the next? And if I still am, I want to give it a little more weight. No. We're just latching on to it. As fleeting as you and I would look at that going, that's fleeting.
Yeah.
Some folks will grab that and run with it. I don't know if that's an illness. I don't know if that's just bad practice. I don't know what that is.
Think about that. The people that you see do that, are they disciplined or principled people? Probably not.
I'm guessing probably not. No.
I know most people I know that act on whims. You're just like, what are you doing? They're lacking discipline and they're lacking a personal philosophy.
Do you feel there's a portion of politics that does that?
Absolutely. Like acts on a whim? Yeah, absolutely. They go where the wind blows most of the time. What's the popular issue of the day? What's going to get the voters? Like, just think about that. Like, if you look at politicians, when was the last time outside of Trump and a few others that really had policies they stuck to? Like, you knew from day one what they stood for, and you knew on the election day what they stood for.
Most definitely. Well, there's the sadder part of that whole equation is a lot of the politicians can't even articulate the policies they're asked about, their positions on circumstances they're asked about, their stated positions. They can't articulate why, which is horrifying.
I'm laughing because I had a discussion a few years ago with a state politician, asking this person, okay, what is your platform? And their platform was like this, and this. I said, okay, what does that mean? This, and this. I said, okay, I understand those are your 3 parts of your platform, but take part 1. Part 1 is, small, help small business. What are you going to do that? I believe in small business. Like, that was, I'm like, okay, well, and then it was a circular discussion. I was just like, I gave up. But that's what politicians bank on. That
surface level.
If they just keep it surface level. But I was digging and asking because I wanted to know, like, what do you mean?
To do that?
And I'm like, and this person's been elected more than once and is in state politics. And I'm thinking to myself, how is this person actually qualified to be there? Other than they shook a lot of hands, went to a bunch of pancake breakfasts.
It's the call to personality we talked about before. It's like that we give so much weight to that in society. It's like it's almost like Hollywood and our entertainment and our music and all that entertainment section of our society has grabbed the political arena and shook it, and it's carrying it now.
Well, yeah.
It's carrying it.
Yeah. I mean, it's true until the Diddy thing blows up the whole all of Hollywood.
Maybe. But I mean, like when I think of it as I was a kid, so there was Richard Nixon versus Gerald Ford. There was Jimmy Carter versus Ronald Reagan. There wasn't there was certainly called a personality, but it wasn't marketed and sold to the American people like it is late 80s and up.
Yeah.
On an increasing basis. You see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. I mean,
and everybody's going to have their look. I don't begrudge anybody. Women voted for Kennedy in the 60s, early 60s, because he was a good looking guy.
Yeah.
You're always going to have an element of the voting public that has their particular reasons why they like a certain person. That's your right.
Yeah.
But when those superficial reasons start to be the majority,
that's the problem.
It's horribly.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That is the
ineffective way to run a country.
But think about just look at the 2 candidates we have right now. Okay, and I'm going to take Trump aside because I believe Trump at least has some substance. Like, I've listened to Harris on interviews. There's no substance there.
No, maybe
there is. She's not articulating it or not allowed to articulate it. But everybody's like, that's okay. Like, no one's really complaining about it. Because we're talking about dreams and aspirations in every fucking speech. It's okay. What does that mean? Like, what because if you win, like I want to know, I'll support whatever president gets in office.
An opportunity economy.
Yeah. What does that mean? How will that benefit me? I'm a business owner. I employ 10 people.
Everybody that's living in the Midwest or the big cities has the same opportunity. Okay, well, how are you going to do that?
Right. And what does that mean? Same opportunity for what? To have a Target on the next block, to buy a house, to have $100,000 in savings, to have a picket fence and 3 dogs. What is the same opportunity?
Well, without getting into the weeds, we'll do that next week. But I think that she really masks what I think her core belief is. There's an element. I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I only believe
Mm-hmm.
this. I'm not saying anyone else believes it. I believe there's an element of her personal philosophy, which we will never be expressly told of, but she believes in equality of outcome. I really believe
Mm-hmm.
that she believes in the equality of outcome. She hides it. She tries to hide it, but
Mm-hmm.
everything is derived and pushed toward a utopia that she spouts off. That you can't have equality of outcome.
How do you do that?
It's the most despicable affront to a free society, a free democratic society that you could possibly have.
Well, it's like if we're gonna have equality of outcome, then we just all do the bare minimum with the same outcome. Why would I work the way I do if the outcome is going to be the same as someone who works 10% as much as I do?
Well, there are a portion of our population that believes that they believe that there should be an equality of outcome, not opportunity.
Opportunity, yes. Outcome, no.
Right.
Outcome,
right.
Opportunity, we necessarily can't control, right? As individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Outcome, we absolutely can, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you lose a race, you either weren't good enough,
mm-hmm.
fast enough, or didn't prepare enough.
Mm-hmm.
Those are variables you can fix,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
and that's where I get frustrated, because in this equality of outcome, if you're not supporting the candidate, they think, well, you're not for equality. It's like, no, that's not the case.
No. Equality of outcome is communism,
right? It's exactly
pure and simple. You can call 100%. It couch it any way you want.
It's communism. You're exactly right.
Line up, get doled out by the government your equal amount of rations, and like it.
That's exactly right.
You're all equal.
Mm-hmm. We're not meant to be equal. We're all built differently for a reason, and I truly believe as individuals, we all have certain gifts we're given.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of us never discover them,
mm-hmm.
because discovering the gifts, you have to go through the pain to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And because you'll never, I don't believe you'll ever, if you look at anybody that had this, like a gifted entrepreneur or artist or musician, their origin story always has pain in it.
Mm-hmm.
At least as far as I know, maybe I'm wrong, but
especially an artist for sure.
But even successful entrepreneurs, right? Like, that have become billionaires, like they struggled, they gave up things, they had that origin story was always a level of pain. I almost think that's a rite of passage to be a successful entrepreneur, because if you had things handed to you, or if you had an easy life, it's very hard to want to put in the effort it takes to be successful, because it is hard. But if you've always just been in the hard, it's just the way of life.
1,000,000%.
But so many people, I look and I've spoken to friends and people I know that are entrepreneurs, and they're like struggling. And I know their origin story. And I know they didn't come from, the background like I did. They've kind of had something handed to them, and they're wondering why they can't get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because you didn't build the muscles and the grit that you do when you start at zero from scratch, and you fight and kick and claw your way out of it. Like, that's where the real learning comes in.
No question.
And most people, and I'm not saying you have to be an entrepreneur to learn that, but even if you're in a profession, you've got to be willing to get kicked in the nuts a bunch of times and feel the actual pain of losing, of a client berating you, or something bad happened that really lights a fire under you.
Certainly.
And that's where I think a lot of things are lacking in society. People don't have the fire anymore.
Well, they're operating in a society that becomes easier and easier every day just to exist. And again, I'm not entirely saying it's a horrible thing. I think it's quite horrible. But for many people, they're enjoying their life. God bless them. I just don't think that a society that creates soft people in large swaths is not healthy.
Yeah, I mean, what's that saying go? Good times create soft men create bad times create hard men.
So it's like
hard men create soft times or easy times. So it's like a circle. So right now we're in that. We have a lot of soft people. So that's why like we're getting ready to go through the hard times.
I hope not.
But we are. We have to. It's a cycle we have to go through. We
do.
Yeah.
I don't know. This thing about not believing the realities we're seeing, and then maybe us having a license to embellish our own life and embellish how we maneuver, because you know what, everybody else is lying about stuff, or companies are lying, our government's lying. I don't believe what they're saying is true.
I would challenge you right now. Think about who we lied to the most.
Probably ourselves.
Yeah. Like I'm coming back to talking about entrepreneurship, right? And I've spoken to people that are frustrated with where they are. I just can't, I can't figure this out. Okay. But I know they're lying to themselves. They're like, I'm putting in all the effort. I mean, they're not. Like, I know what you're doing. You're not doing it. Like, I've had these discussions. That's the hardest thing for people, because we lie to ourselves more than anybody. I've done it. You've done it. Like we say, we're working our asses off. Are we really? There have been days where I've told myself, I'm like, I've worked my ass off today. Well, I know I fucked around for 2 hours and maybe only put in a good 8 hours. To me, an 8-hour day is average. That's what's expected. So I always say, if you want to stand out, you put in 10, 12. I'm not saying do your whole life, but 8 hours is just the expectation. Like, no one should get a cookie for working for 8 hours.
Well, that's the delusion of entrepreneurship, is that, well, I don't work for anybody else. I don't have to do 8 hours. Yeah. That's delusion. That is a delusion.
I have never, and I will say this candidly and without varnish, this year has exhausted me more than any year of my entire life. I'm 47 years old. This year whooped my ass, but it had to happen. You have to go through it. But like, I don't think people understand. I'm 5 years into running this firm, and on the outside, it looks very successful. We're growing, we're profitable, but I have never been as tired as I am every single day of this year than I am. Like, it is, I can't remember the last time I woke up and I'm just like, I'm not tired. I'm not worried about 17 things.
Hey, buddy, with every year that goes 46 on,
problems
I gotta get any easier. I'm just letting you know.
No, I know it's true, but it's like
just letting you know.
But no, but it's true, because I think about that, like because you eventually it's going to get easier, right? It just gets harder. You just solve the problems faster.
Yes,
like that's really what it looks like.
The complexity grows.
Complexity grows, but your problem solving ability happens. So I solve problems faster.
You get bigger, better skills.
Yeah, but this year, like, it is. And I don't think people understand unless you're really in it. Because there's not a day where, like I said, I don't lay on the pillow at night and say, oh, I'm good. My brain is racing,
of course,
until my eyes fall asleep. And the moment I get up in the morning, it's like, fuck, what do I gotta do today? It's like off to the races. I don't relax. And whether that's good or bad, that's just how I'm wired. This year has tested me
part
beyond
of the growth
belief.
Mindset.
It is. But there are times where where I'm sitting there, I'm like, because just when you think everything's kind of smooth for a day or two, it's like, boom, something else happens. Boom, something else happens. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Truly, I would not. I love what I do, and I love the fact of that. But I want people to understand, like, it is, anybody can do it. Anybody can be successful. But you've got to be willing to really just get kicked in the face a bunch of times over and over again, keep getting back up, and pray the next kick misses.
Yeah, the ability to work through disappointment is a big thing.
It is.
And it I'm not saying it's the number one qualifier or disqualifier on whether someone should be an entrepreneur, but it's a big component.
Yeah.
What is your personal ability? What is your skill set for being able to work through disappointment in its entirety?
Well, I think work through and learn from.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to learn from it. Like, that's because if you work, you can work through it, but if you're not learning from it, you keep doing the same things over and over again.
Good point. but when you say work through disability, work through I'm losing my mind here. What did I say? Work through disappointment.
Yeah.
Anyone can work through 1 or 2 or 3 disappointments, but can you work through continual disappointment until things change?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and you got to be willing to change. Like that's the other thing that I think people, when it comes back to bringing it back to lying, right? People lie to themselves saying, well, I'm just going to keep doing it this way. It'll eventually work. It's like, if you've tried 5 times and it hasn't worked, you might want to tell yourself a different story. It might be time to actually change your philosophy.
Well, it's tough. It's tough to admit defeat. It's tough to admit that your plans have gone awry. It's just tough to be honest with oneself. I mean, the easiest thing in the world to do is to go to your office as an entrepreneur, have a little bit of success, put in like a 3-hour day, but convince yourself that, oh, I'm working so hard. Look what I've done.
Yeah.
And you start to, those 2-3 hour days start to be the quote unquote norm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right.
You know, you forget what an actual 8-hour day was. The further you get away from it.
I mean,
I might be talking from experience.
No, dude, I can't. Like, we track our time from like our billable and our non-billable time, and and I track all of my billable and I track most of my non-billable. But I don't always do this. I don't really need to do it for myself. But there are days where I'm like, I only tracked 8 hours. I get pissed at myself. I'm like, dude, what did you do? What did you do? Like I get so mad. I'm like, you lazy piece of shit. Like, you just effed around. Because I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I do my thing. I'm usually in the office between 6:30 and 7:15, depending on the day, and I'm working till 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's a long day, but it's like there are days where I'm like, I didn't do anything, and I think I'm very hard on myself. I know that. Like, I'm very hard on myself, but I think you have to be.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm not lying to
no
myself
one else
anymore.
is going to be.
Yeah, because
no one else gives a shit. When you're not no one else cares.
All they care about is what's in it for them.
Yeah, there's no boss looking over you, telling you what to do or letting you what the expectations are. You got to want that for yourself, and it's not for everybody.
No,
it's not for everybody.
No, it's definitely. It has been a test of my patience this year. It's been a test of everything, man.
Hey, man, you got 2.5 months left yet. Don't be. Year's not over yet, everybody.
No, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff that already happened. I think we're past a lot of the shit, and I think it's just made the team stronger, and we've done a lot, and it's been good. But I mean, I'll look back on this year, and this will definitely be a memorable year.
This will be the growth year.
Not even growth. Like, we've grown substantially revenue wise, but growth personally for myself.
Yeah,
because it's been the hardest year for me.
Yeah, man.
Like, hardest.
Certainly, I get it.
So it's definitely, I'm gonna look back and say, like, I learned a lot about myself. What I like, what I don't like, what I need to fix, what I need to improve upon.
And I'd be willing to bet you we're gonna sit here next October and you're gonna say, no, this was the year. No, that's good though.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, if you the exploration of oneself.
Yeah.
If it continues to expand each year, I mean, you can't ask for more than that. I mean, that should supersede everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of it, right?
Right.
I mean, you can make money anywhere.
Exactly right. That's the whole point.
But how do you grow as a person? Like, you get one life, you get one shot. So why can't I? The whole goal of this thing is to become the best version of yourself.
Now, isn't it easier, would you say, to wrap your head around that concept as an entrepreneur as opposed to someone who worked for another firm?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a lot easier to wrap.
So I didn't get it until I was, until I was out hanging, by myself.
Yeah,
and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, because you're like, no one's coming to save me.
The
cavalry's not coming. It's on me, and you got to figure it out. And something's got to click.
All right, man. Next Tuesday will be exactly 1 week before the election. We'll have our special election show.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Oh, it'll be fun. All right.
Who knows what'll happen until then, man.
Everybody have a great week. Thank you so much.
That was a good one, man.
Excellent.